thank you all for being here. This is the Game of Thrones memorial panel. Those of you who we lost in Season 4. And just wanted to start at the beginning for all of you. What was it like coming into this huge and epic a show? I just realized that some of you might have just been meeting for the first time.
Jack and I have just met as in 20 seconds ago.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. It was a wonderful handshake.
Very good, very good. So what was, I guess we can start with you, Pedro.
Why are you going to start with me?
Because you're, you know.
Because I'm sitting directly across.
Yeah.
You've been looking straight at me and I'm like, I'm going to get the first question, aren't I?
As an anchor.
Great.
But you're the newest kid on the block in Season 4 and snatched away.
Big in, big out.
Yeah. What was it like? Had you seen the show before you started?
I had seen every episode, so coming in, felt like I knew more about the show than everyone on the show.
That's true. What was your first day? What was the first scene you had to shoot?
A 6-page scene with Peter Dinklage.
Oh,
and a monologue. And stuff like that.
So when you're telling the story of meeting Tyrion as a baby.
Meeting him and seeing him as a baby and like becoming his and becoming his ally and telling him that I would fight for him.
I will be your champion.
And Jack, you've been with us, I think, longer than anybody here. You date back to the very original pilot.
Yeah, I was very, very intimidated when I went on. It was such a big scene to begin with. I think it was the scene where all the Lannisters and Baratheons go to the Stark house. So right from the get-go, you know, I was kind of thrown into just meeting everyone and kind of getting to grips with, first of all, riding a horse. Yeah, I'd never ridden a horse before. And so it was actually quite a nice atmosphere.
One thing that's lovely about your performance and your interpretation of Joffrey, and I can actually put this question to Charles as well, is that you're both villains in the piece, but neither of you approach that at all, and I think it really shows in the characterization.
Yeah, I mean, you want not for there to be sympathy or empathy, but perhaps just that it's not so black and white. So that's a fun kind of tension for me to play, someone who's so kind of perhaps superficially evil, you know, to see his motivations and perhaps just humanize him a bit.
Tywin's a kind of emotional desert, really. But it's kind of great fun to play because Tywin is king of this lot, really.
And I think he does know that.
Call
Joffrey does.
The king, but you know, I mean.
What was your first day on set? Which was it couldn't have been the stag scene. Was that your first?
No, that was the second one. The first one was in a tent. It was in a tent that was in a field at
freezing.
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Bitterly cold. And I thought, why are we in this tent? There are no shots outside the tent. This tent could be set up on the studio floor and we could all be warm. Instead of freezing our asses off in the middle of this field, 20 miles outside of Belfast.
Welcome to Game of Thrones.
But, you know, the end result, like all of the stuff in this, I mean, it looks absolutely sensational. And then David and Dan came to my trailer one day and said, "Are you vegetarian, Charles?" And I said, "No, why do you ask?" And they said, "You ever butchered a deer before?" I said, "No." So this guy came in with a dead animal and a selection of knives, and we skinned the deer.
But that's one of the great character introductions on the show.
It was terrific.
Rosie, what was your first day? What were your first experience coming onto the show?
Actually, my introduction was also the character's introduction as well. It was our first day, and it was the capture of Ygritte by Jon Snow, and it was that scene whereby it's the most beautiful, just sensational backdrop over the glacier.
Was that the glacier that cracked and everyone had to?
No, that was the lake. So I think this was at the end of season 2, and we were shooting on a lake, and then we decided to take a crew photo in the middle of a frozen lake, and we heard this deep rumble, this deep crack, and everybody just fends for themselves, and like people are pushing past and they're like, "Fuck you!"
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a good way to break the ice.
Indeed. No, that was very good. Very good.
There's that wicked humor.
You can keep that.
And Mark, I mean, you've shot, obviously shot in Iceland as well, but I think your first day, if I remember correctly, was unusually hot Castle Black day.
Yeah, it was boiling hot.
Boiling.
It was August. We were all in our furs and stuff, our cloaks, and it was John Bradley having his arse beaten.
That's right. It was the introduction of Samwell. It was his first.
Was that John's first day as well?
It probably was.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, I think it was
John's,
John, Luke's, and mine first job, first day on set ever. Anyway, yeah, it was great.
You sure you want to do this?
No.
And Sibel, what was your first day on the show?
I was topless. I met Peter, so it was in a tent, and I really questioned myself also, I asked myself, why are they shooting here, on a field? It was so cold, and I was topless, and I was like, oh God, what I'm doing here.
But it was all uphill from there, right? Yeah. And Tom, well, you came in into season 3.
Yeah, I came in season 3, so everything had kind of already been established, which was kind of nervy as well, because I knew it was quite a big show, and I was expecting it to be a bit of a machine, which it is really, and big cast, big crew. So I didn't really know what to expect. And I just hung out in the bar afterwards, and everyone was really cool and very welcoming. And
Who was hanging around the bar? No one asked me. Is that right? Do you drink alcohol? No.
No.
Not when you're working.
Not while we're filming.
No, just hang around the bar.
Yeah.
Watch others do it.
Yeah. Sparkling water.
Yeah, sparkling water and chat.
You probably have all had some interesting fan encounters over the years. Can you speak to that?
There was a guy. We were crossing the road. It was this year, actually. I think it probably in October. And we were with Kit, and this Irish guy came over to us, and are you Kit? You're Kit, are you? Yeah, I am. Yeah, very humbly, I am. Yeah. You're Jon Snow. He's like, yeah. And he looks at him, takes a second look, and he was like, no way, you're too fucking short to be Jon. I ran off up the street.
Anybody else have any interesting fan encounters?
I learned about my death from a fan. Really.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's how you found out. I was going to ask. Yeah. How?
Because I'm afraid I haven't read any of the books at all. Well, they're that thick. They're rather frightening, It alarms me when I'm confronted with a book of that size. And a guy came up to me in the street in London, he said, Game of Thrones, fucking great. I said, oh, well, thank you very much. He said, you've got a great death scene. I said, have I really? What is the manner of my death? You see? Anyway, and he told me, and I thought, oh, yeah, that's what I've got to look forward to.
Your manager.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yes.
But did you know you were going to die at a certain point when we?
No, I had absolutely no idea.
Oh, that's so funny.
No.
We'll get to the death scenes in a minute. We'll discuss those in detail. But any other, before we kind of move on to the death side of things in the end, are there any particular favorite moments you had over the course of the season?
Yeah, I have many. I'll pick one. Shooting an orgy that gets interrupted by Charles.
Something like you, Charles?
That was one of my favorite days on set.
Yeah.
One of the actors, she wouldn't wear her robe. Do you remember?
Yeah, she just wandered around.
So we're in the green room, and playing Words with Friends or something with David, and Charles is reading the paper, and next to him is a completely naked person. And Charles has the paper, and she's trying to talk with him, and he's like, and he looks up at me, and he's like, Charles, a naked woman.
Yeah.
David Benioff, Words with Friends.
Yeah. You never thought you'd reach
Game of Thrones.
These heights. Yeah. What about you beyond the wall types? Any favorite?
I think my most memorable scene would have been actually climbing the wall.
Oh,
so
yes,
it was when
of
they
course.
built the art department are incredible. They built this 50-foot wall in one of the studios and then kind of like surrounded it with green screen. And we were all very well looked after. We all had our harnesses on and our wires and I had to be dropped. Oh my God, it was amazing.
And you're really climbing there.
We really are. But it was obviously very safe. But it's kind of like for dear life. And then you've got a wind machine on your left and a snow machine on your right, and it's all very much in the moment. It really is. It really, really is. But without telling me, they decided to drop me at a faster rate.
Oh.
Just so that there was that kind of like shock element. So that was real, guys. That was real. There's no acting involved there. I really didn't know I was going to get dropped at such a fast speed.
And we got it.
And we got it. And now we can move on.
Charles, do you have a particular favorite scene or moment from your time on the show?
Yeah, it was a great ego-boosting moment to actually ride into a palace.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That hero shot.
Yeah, with a couple of hundred extras with a horse that does an enormous dump just at the top of the shot and to ride straight down through the middle. I mean, it's, it's quite heady stuff, really. It's great.
Jack?
I'd certainly probably go along with Charles' idea of the ego-boosting thing. I think my favourite kind of or most memorable scenes were when, like, I just have 100 or so minions listening to my every word, beneath my feet, like the wedding feast itself. That was fantastic. And then the massive lion head through which the dwarves came out. That was amazing. Such a kind of a kid's imagination, just being like, I want dwarves dressed up as, like, these people fighting each other. Yeah, that was very memorable.
It's like Joffrey's MTV Sweet 16.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Charles has already answered this question, but I guess we'll open with when did you find out you were going to die? How did you find out? And I mean, with you, it was probably kind of part of the whole pitch, right?
Yeah, I knew before I got the part. And there was constant talk about how it was going to happen and how disgusting and horrifying it was going to be and how it would compete for one of the most disgusting deaths in Game of Thrones, which is saying a lot.
Yes, it's true.
Right? If I were to make the top 3, then that's just pretty horrible. I'll never die that badly again for the rest of my life.
I think you most certainly have made the top 3.
high.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If not the
it would,
top.
right?
Yes.
Until you see it, it's disgusting.
It really is.
I'm fighting a 6'8", 420-pound.
He was 6'8".
He was 6'8",
huge.
420 pounds, and his sword was like my height. From like from the handle up to it was my height, and he'd like wield this thing around, and I have my little spear that I'm helicoptering around. It's like trying to move in like tight leather armor, I'd like finally like learned how to. I'm like, look, I can make that woo 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 noise. And then they put on this tight like leather armor, and I'm like, it's gone, I can't do it anymore,
And could you talk a little bit, since we're on it, talk a little bit about the process of smashing your head?
They shot my head being completely split open, and the blood and everything like that. And then there was a final shot, and they put all of this prosthetic, like goopy, disgusting brain chunks, little bone marrow, and then like just pumped the blood so that but it was all very cool. Like the temperature of it was completely cool, So they're like, this is going to be really uncomfortable. You're going to feel a lot of pressure, and you're not going to, but it's okay. We're going to have like breathing and I was passed out. I was like, completely out.
So, Mark, now this is interesting because, Gren's not dead in the books.
No, he's not.
Yet.
No.
We killed Gren early. But it was
Really
actually,
early.
it's really a compliment because we knew that the Battle of the Wall had to have consequences for characters that the audience loved and care about, and that would be you and Joe Alton, who plays Pip, who also meets his maker in the Battle of the Wall.
Yeah.
Were you told, or did you have to read it?
No, I opened the script for episode 9 and started reading this epic battle sequence that lasts the whole hour. 100,000 versus 100, guarding the wall for honor and the survival of mankind, and I get to page 92. There's this scream of the Night's Watch oath going into battle, and there's the gate in front of me, and I skip 10 pages, and I just see Gren is dead. And I went, the fucking bastard. My girlfriend was sat on the sofa opposite, and I went, do you know how much money we're going to fucking lose because of this? You can wave bye-bye to the car. I got to Belfast, and David and Dan were stood in the bar, and I just put a hand on each shoulder, and I was just like, you fuckers, you've killed me. You've taken me away.
But yeah, I mean, it's true. We were in the writer's room. We said, it's going to kill the audience, but we have their hearts are going to break. We got to kill Gren.
Hurting them.
We got to hurt them. If we're not hurting
Over
them,
and
then the show
over
doesn't
and over again.
work. And you haven't told at the time of this recording, you haven't told your folks, right? Your parents that.
No, I haven't told.
You're going to
anybody.
watch it with them?
Yeah, absolutely nobody knows. So they're probably watching it now. So.
What was it like filming that scene? I mean, you're basically having to act against a giant that isn't there.
Yeah, it's just a big green sausage, really, coming towards you. And they had this camera shot where it was on a crane, and it started high and came low, and I'm laid there, and it sort of drifts into my eyes. And it was timed with John, Bradley, and Kit walking through the tunnel to discover the body, and they were walking at such a slow pace, and my eyes are open in the death. The camera's there and it's coming. I'm like, no, I'll blink. Cut, start again. There we go.
But it's quite a scary thing, isn't it? Knowing that you can't blink. And as soon as your head starts going, don't blink, don't blink, don't blink, hold it together, hold it together.
My eyes had to be kept open by two people. Yeah, because I just couldn't do it. Yeah. So it was the director of photography and the director who came over and was like, Jesus Christ, Jack, come on. It's just like literally held my eyes open so they could take like a CGI shot of my face and then like, I don't know what they're doing.
Oh, they're going to take the hands out.
Or something like that, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's my level of like inaptitude. Like.
It's a hard thing. It is.
And Rose, you probably were you informed of your death when you took the part, or did you?
Do you know what I did a bit of research before I started. So prior to even season 2, I'd read all the books. That's a lie. I'd read 4.
Right.
So I knew of my character's arc even before I started. So I knew it was coming, and I knew that it was going to be happening in the big kind of battle sequence, and so I was well prepared.
Yeah. And your death scene was your last night on set as well, wasn't it?
It was. Do you know? And that was so touching that it was scheduled that way, because I don't think oh God, it was very emotional. So I don't think I would have come back the next day to try and be really, really happy. It would have been quite a struggle. But yes, no, it was beautifully timed so that it was my final night, my death scene, dying in the arms of Jon Snow, and then gone. Everybody surrounds in a big circle and starts clapping. I break down in tears, and then Tommy Dunn comes up with my arrow, and it's in a beautiful kind of like, it's a beautiful packaging, and it's on like a case, and there's a red velvet bed made for it, and
was it your bow, or
it was my bow? I'm sorry, yes. So it was my bow, and beautifully kind of presented me into a so yeah, no, it was lovely. And then there was hugs and more tears, and it was great. I think I didn't even think I could speak. I think I was thanking you so much, and I was like, right.
Yeah, it was an emotional night for everybody.
It was a lovely night.
And Charles, we know how you found out about your death. What was it like shooting that? What I think at the time of this taping I can predict will become one of the great scenes of the series.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be quietly sitting, having his morning ablution, for to be killed by your son. He kicks open the door. I mean, it's a great way to die. It's a pretty spectacular death, do you know? And, in a way, who better to kill Tywin than Tyrion, because I've treated him appallingly all his life, do you know? I mean, it's a right and proper end for Tywin, I think.
And Jack, you died memorably and violently and horribly, but before that, I believe you shot your funeral. You were lying in state in the Westerosi fashion with the stones over my eyes.
That's right. That was actually probably one of my favorite days of shooting, because I was getting paid for literally just having a nap. You were talking about sleeping. Yeah, I was just there in between takes, having the time of my life, and I was in a beautiful black gown, actually.
You were very pretty, Dan. Yeah.
I did look great.
Yeah.
When I knew I got the part, I think I instantly checked Wikipedia. I didn't really think about it, to be honest, for a while, and then it's like, I suppose, the 3rd or 4th season, I realised it was going to come. It was going to come to an end. But it was fantastic filming it. It was so exciting because it was such a long scene. It was that wedding feast scene. So it was such a big scene that this was kind of a nice catharsis that came at the end. And we had to do this thing, which was like, in school when you make that fake volcano, you have like vinegar and baking soda. I was told, put my head back, we're going to put some stuff in your mouth to make it foam up. I didn't know what they're going to put in it. They put probably that much of vinegar into my mouth, and then poured baking soda straight in, and was just frothed up as if I was choking.
Did you swallow any of it?
Oh, I swallowed so much of it. I stunk of vinegar for the whole night. I had to do it like 12 times. It was horrible. It really did leave a sour taste in my mouth.
There it is. There's that Gleason wit.
I love it.
Well, it's a glorious death, and again, I think it speaks to your portrayal of the character and your humanity. That I think everyone watching it, even if they've been rooting for Joffrey's death, you feel bad for him. I mean, it's this boy reaching out for his mother.
You know, that is, like people forget he's just a kind of a kid. You know, he's pretty evil and malevolent, but he's just a boy and he's dead. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, Tom, you play another character who all apologies, is not dead yet in the books.
Yeah.
But perishes on the show. When did you know you were going to be killed? Did you read it too, or?
On the plane journey over to film it. Is when I got to the last bit of the last episode, and I was just reading through. I had no idea. No one told me or anything.
Really?
Yeah.
God.
So I was
Cold-hearted
like, okay.
producers.
And then Jojen gets stabbed. I was like, but I'm all right, though. I mean, I'll be fine. It's okay. Yeah. That's going to be quite fun. His sister comes over and slits his throat. Oh, okay. Wow. Gosh, no, I'm definitely dead. Oh, maybe I'll come back as a White Walker or something. No, then the little girl comes out and throws a Molotov cocktail at me and bursts into flames. No, I'm dead. Definitely dead.
Now, that's one of the more involved, crazy sequences we've ever attempted in a series of a lot of involved, crazy sequences where the whites come out of the snow.
No, it's great.
A ton of VFX work. I mean, it's such a technical scene, and yet it's also the emotional kind of climax for your character and for the season.
It was incredible. I mean, we were, again, in true Game of Thrones style, shooting in some miserable quarry, and it was very cold and very wet. And they built these kind of graves into the ground where they hid these poor stuntmen.
And they were stuntmen partly in green.
Yeah, they were partly in green, but it wasn't just like a green blob that they then put all this fantastic prosthetic makeup on. So when you were looking at them, when you were fighting with them, they looked like whites, or they looked really scary. It's a really cool way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all pretty cool.
Yeah,
ways to
you
go,
have to admit,
but it's the fight
at least we kill you in
get
glorious ways.
the best death you can, on Game of Thrones.
And your death is a real heartbreaker. What was it like shooting that scene? Again, a hugely emotional scene on top of having to be strangled to death.
I mean, yeah, by her love.
By her love.
Yeah. So, and I didn't have even the love scene with Charles. They didn't even give that to me before.
I tried, but
it was a stressful day. It was my last day.
And it was your last day as well.
Yeah,
oh,
and
wow.
I said, no, I'm not acting this. I can't. I need 2-3 days more. So after 25 takes, they said, Sibel, you have to die now. Just act.
Your love story, and tragic love story, is one of the great arcs in the show. And,
but the people are going to hate me, right? Because at the end, I mean, I was at the trial
I think
scene.
it's complicated, which is the fun of it.
Yeah, he called me whore. I mean, I'm not a whore.
No, you're not.
Yeah. Shay, I'm talking about Shay.
Yes. So some of your last days on sets were your death scenes, but not Pedro. Your last scene, you went on for a while after you died, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
What was your last day on set like? What was
My
the scene?
last day was like staring out at the Adriatic Sea with Lena Headey.
The scene in episode 5 with the walk and talk.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
it's
walk and
wonderful.
talk. It was a bit righteous and selfish of me, but I got out of costume and I jumped into the water while everyone else was like, "Fuck you, dude," because they had to keep working and it was really warm and the water was just begging to be jumped into. It was just like crystal blue and perfect day, and we were on this kind of like pier, and so I had this like really, really long running start where I just got to sprint towards the water and then just like, dive in. And I'm like, you're like a fish, wee, wee, and they're all like, you fucking asshole.
Thank God he's dead.
Thank God he's dead. And you washed yourself clean of Oberyn Martell.
Yeah, and then I literally got into a van and went to the airport with Lena.
Oh, wow.
With your new best friend.
With
we
my
got
BFF.
It. Yeah, okay.
Well, why don't we segue then into sort of the kind of last thoughts of and we'll go around of your character and what it was like to, what the character meant to you and then this overall kind of the experience of Game of Thrones and what that meant to all of you. And so I guess we'll start with you
again?
Since we're here. Maybe talk about Oberyn first a little bit, just, the experience of that character in the story. And then.
Well, he's such a badass. It was an intimidating experience playing somebody who lives purely through his passions, who is completely uncompromising. He does what he wants, when he wants, and it was a little bit of fun to do. And I had the time of my life.
And Tom, any thoughts on playing Jojen and experience on the show?
Yeah, I mean, it's been brilliant. It's been great fun. It's been like I said, the first time I've ever actually been able to come back to a character. That's been really nice to go away for a year and then you come back. I mean, I was only in 2 seasons, but coming back for my second, I felt like I was coming home. It's a very good, talented group of people, cast and crew, and everyone involved in it cares an awful lot about it. And I think that comes across in the show, and that's what makes it so good, is the people really...
And Sibel, thoughts on Shay and your time on Thrones?
I mean, you know, when I started with Game of Thrones, I didn't expect anything. That was the best thing, I think. You know, I just jumped in the cold water and, you know, learned to swim.
And Mark, what about your thoughts on, I mean, you've been with us since almost the beginning, and with your tight group of guys, the real camaraderie formed there.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it was, I think 3 out of 5 of us, it was our first job. So there was an immediate, out of insecurity probably, you know, a bond that was made, and it felt like you were sort of returning back to a family or a brotherhood, as it is in the show each year. Because Jon Snow's sort of our central character in that part of the storyline, you realise that although on the page there's not as much to say, all of you are kind of holding a mirror up to that character and saying, you know, through our experiences with him, making him reflect on his own behaviour. And obviously Jon Snow goes through so many different twists and turns in the storyline, an identity crisis a lot of the time, you know, wondering what he's fighting for and why he's fighting. I feel sorry for Kit, you know, because without me stood behind him, he's not going to look anywhere near as good looking. But, you know, he's going to have to deal with that, I suppose.
And Rose?
I have a deep love for Ygritte. I think she's a wonderful character, and I've so enjoyed playing her. And she is, you know, she's that other side of Jon Snow. She loves to be as playful, you know, and try and tease him and taunt him and try and get him to smile, which is hard. And that kind of betrayal that she feels at the end of season 3 was very kind of, well, she's so hurt and devastated, and it was brilliant to play. Just her whole kind of shell.
And Charles, any reflections on Tywin and your experience on the show?
Well, I think like everybody else, I've had a ball, really. And it was great being accorded the respect that I was, principally because of the character, not because of me. Well, actually,
a little bit of both, I think.
You know, it's quite astonishing, you know, walking around in all that stuff and being so appalling to people all of the time.
Took me 2 years to even speak to you.
You know, then, there's a kind of distance, but I know that was all to do with Tywin, absolutely nothing to do with me. Well, it was great.
Jack?
Yeah, definitely that feeling of, enjoyment and kind of schadenfreude or whatever, kind of inflicting pain on others, you know. I love it so much.
You're one of the great villains in television history. I mean,
it's weird.
You are. You're a cultural. You're a cultural icon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, again, and that's crazy to think. I mean, like, and it's something that I suppose, like, people presume sometimes that I get a lot of hate for being me, but everyone's always so nice. So to kind of have that hatred and that kind of, in a way, you know, admiration, if it's not too pompous to say, of kind of whatever the role that I've helped bring to life. It's been amazing.
What you all have brought to the show and to our words, it's the greatest gift a writer can have, to have actors like you and interpreting them and bring them to life and exceeding our wildest expectations. So I'm going to miss you all, and I know the viewers at home will miss you all, and thank you so much for doing this and looking back with me. I really appreciate it.
I have to cry.
Cut it before we lose it.
Cut it before you...
Thank you guys. It was fun.